Welcome to Stories That Stick. I am your host, Chad Quandt, here to talk about stories that resonated us and bonded to our hearts, be it comic books or movies or television or perhaps a wrestling match. I am joined by the wonderful Joey Clift, a writer for TV, a director for animation. Joey, I feel like you're like a man of 7 trades, you know? I feel like I always see you around in the creative space. Welcome to the podcast, Joey.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Chad. Yeah, my 7 trades are writer, director, comedian, bricklayer, air traffic controller. Let's see. Oh, God, now I
want to yes and
that.
Are those true in any way? Are those?
No.
I've been thinking, our industry is a little rough right now. I've been thinking about getting into like a bricklayer trade or something. Like, what can I do in my late 30s?
Yeah, that is. I've thought about. So my go-to is that I'm a Native American in rural Cowlitz, and my tribe has a really nice casino 20 minutes north of Portland, and I'm just like, my go-to is like, I could probably valet at my tribe's casino.
I bet you could do better than valet. Would you like be willing to ever to work a table, or is that like not your spot?
I feel like I'm too nice to want to work a table because like if somebody lost, I'd feel okay.
Yes.
Okay, actually, wait a second. So I'd feel 2 emotions. If somebody lost, like the human side of me would feel bad, but the side of me where my tribe profits if people lose, I'd be like, wait a second, wait. Actually, I could lose a little bit more.
That's a complex emotion. Yeah. You're kind of like, oh, that's so bad though. But wouldn't it feel so good if you came back?
Yeah. Don't you just wish you were addicted to this? That'd be real cool.
Are you we don't have to make this all about casino game. Are you a gambler at all, Joey? I don't do it too much.
No, I'm not. I've never really been like a gambler. I think it's just I was like raised super poor, so it's like I think that I've been taught to not do things that could perceivably be wasting money.
Yes.
That said, it's like, I don't know, do I spend a lot of money on like random toys and bullshit? Of course. But like, but it's like, that's not gambling,
No, you know what you're going to get, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know the Fallout, recreation pit boy that I'm spending way too much money on or whatever.
I always want to get those and they never fit me. Like the Master Chief helmet or like the Pit Boy. It's like, oh, this is made for a smaller person than I am.
Yeah, I do have to say, Chad, like, this is an audio medium, so people probably haven't seen you a ton in person. Your forearms are fucking jacked.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
they're
thank
huge.
You.
It's like a basketball on a
stick. Just big tire loops. I wish, dude. I wish my forearms were swinging that big. Anyway, thank you for that compliment, Joe. It's so kind of you. I have been excited on this pod to cover different stories, right? We've had some movies, we've had a fake documentary, we've talked about some comic books. And Joey, when I asked you on and wanted to go through like what are the stories that have resonated with you, you threw out some great choices, but the one I was so happy you threw out was a legendary professional wrestling match. Mankind versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. Kind of a meme now, I feel like. Like, you just mentioned it in chat, right? Or it's like kind of like a Rickroll thing. I don't know if you've seen this, Joey, where it's like it's like a Reddit post, and there'll be like a conversation, and then like 4 comments down will be just sort of bring it up randomly. Do you remember the time that Mankind fell off 22 feet?
Oh, yeah. It's stuff like, just like, just America used to be a lot better of a country. Like things were a lot cheaper. Like you could just go on flights without something. Also in 1998, the Undertaker threw Mick Foley off the cell. Yeah.
It's an important part of our history and culture.
Yeah.
You picked this. I want to kind of know, like, what's your history with like professional wrestling, WWE? Like, bring me into how the story started for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I would consider myself to be like a lifetime professional wrestling fan. My first time that I saw professional wrestling was, I want to say it was like the early 90s, and it was specifically Jake the Snake Roberts.
Cool.
Had tied up Macho Man Randy Savage in the ring ropes and was pulling out Jake the Snake's snake Damien, which, a wrestler named Jake the Snake, of course, is going to carry a real snake. He should
probably, I bet you he had the name and he's like, I got to find a snake somewhere.
Yeah, he just like went into the bushes and he was just like, oh, where's a snake? Shit. He hears a rattle and he's just like, oh, come on. So he had Macho Man Randy Savage tied up in the ring ropes. And Jake the Snake Roberts pulled out his actual snake. I think it was like legit a cobra, and forced it to bite Macho Man on the arm. And I saw this when I was like, I don't know, like very young.
Yeah.
And I remember like being so like shocked by this. And I literally like went to elementary school the next day and was just like telling all of my classmates like, yo, y'all seeing this shit? Like, and I've just been, truly hooked ever since. And, this was the early 90s. And then one of the great things about professional wrestling at the time is it kind of grew up with you as a viewer. So, the like aside from like Jake the Snake forcing a snake to bite a man, like wrestling in that era was a little bit more kid friendly.
Sure.
Think the Ultimate Warrior, pre-racist Hulk Hogan, like that kind of thing.
Before we all
Yeah.
knew he was a monster.
Yeah, for sure. And like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and then there was something called the Attitude Era that started in the late '90s, which was The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it's just like it was like Stone Cold Steve Austin beating up his boss and people getting flipped off. And
I love the one where Stone Cold goes and just beats up McMahon on the gurney, like the hospital gurney, just hits him with a bedpan. It's so good.
That was, I think that there was recently a post about that on social media. I think that was like 25 years ago, 30 years ago, or something like that. It was like they were like recently the anniversary of that hit. And yeah, truly, when like Stone Cold Steve Austin comes in dressed up like a nurse and then hits Vince McMahon in the face with a bedpan, it's like that's like the peak of our childhoods.
Yeah, and like Vince in both work, I guess, or like in real life, an awful man. So it's great to see him suffer in any way.
Yeah, truly. I think that ended. That segment ended with Vince McMahon getting like a catheter shoved up his butt or something.
Great, good. Yeah. No, but you mentioned the Attitude Era. So like, and I really appreciate, because I've kind of tried to like absorb some of this history post it, because I bounced off wrestling a little bit when I was younger. I don't know what it was.
I get it.
I think I was almost like intimidated by the Attitude Era, or like I think I had kids at school who were doing that like vibe that I didn't gel with, like the all black, like they're also kind of like Insane Clown Posse kids.
Oh yeah.
Who now I realize,
I mean, the Venn diagram of Insane Clown Posse kids to wrestling fans is like so interconnected that literally the Insane Clown Posse wrestled in WCW, and I think were former WCW tag champions.
Of course they did.
They still have their own wrestling league called Juggalo Championship Wrestling. That's genuinely great. Like it's been around for like 30 years.
Oh, sure. And
an institution of professional wrestling.
And now I realize over time, I was like, oh, the Juggalo kids and the metal kids are like all people I became friends with. Just like when I was younger.
Yeah.
The Attitude Era was like kind of putting me off. Just bring this up to like kind of the level of what this match goes into. It was when it was like all leather and chains and blood. I was like, oh, I don't know. This seems, but that's like kind of the Attitude Era, right? Like we'll be like a little bit tougher. We'll be a little bit rougher.
Yeah, it was. I think that it was designed to be. I mean, it was like designed to be kind of shock television. So there was a lot of blood, a lot of cussing. I mean, one of the main teams, Generation X's tagline was literally them saying "suck it" and then
and one of the best poses of all time, the X over your.
Oh yeah, do I like sometimes still do that and just mutter "suck it" to myself? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Who's that guy in the corner just like putting an X over his junk? Oh, don't worry, he's sucking it.
Yeah. I write for preschool television, by the way. I should say that out loud.
Well, also, dude, the amount of like animation people I run into who are like into wrestling, there's a large overlap, I think. Well,
yeah, because I feel like we know each other through. I mean, I want to say it's like what, like union spaces.
I think
or like
the animation guild. Yeah,
but I think just following you on social media, I saw like a couple. You posted a couple of things where it was just like your wrestling comic book and stuff like that, and I was just like, wait a second, this guy.
Is this guy cool? I also like
you know who Orange Cassidy is? Hell yeah.
Oh, dude, Orange Cassidy. I got in more in the AEW era, like during the. I had been watching it probably when I came out here in LA, and not to make this about me, Joe. I want to talk to you more your history, but just kind of comparing it. Yeah, I never really got into it when I was in high school or middle school. I clearly missed out, and then came out here to LA in like the 2010s, and a buddy who's actually a former member of this podcast, Dami, invited me to these like local shows in LA, like
was this like PWG,
GCW.
Yeah.
And it was just this like turn in what I had assumed from when I'd watched WWE on like TV, like TNT or whatever it was, right, WCW, and like that's all tough and like we're the coolest guys in the world. And then at PWG, it was like, oh, it could be a joke, like a cool joke.
Yeah,
like go ahead, please.
It's that, but it's also like professional wrestling has weirdly become an incredibly progressive space.
Yeah.
Like, and it is something like, I mean, you definitely, I'm sure as an AEW fan know this, like Anthony Bowens, like a noted gay wrestler, came out like publicly, his character came out on AEW television and the audience chanted, "He's gay," like not as like a slam, as a like hell yeah,
celebrated him, yeah.
yeah. It's like yeah, it was like literally like a beautiful, like I think Glad reposted it. And it's
Hell
just
yeah.
like wrestling fans as a whole were just like, yeah,
What-
you are gay. I love you.
It's not that progressive, but I think one of the last big events I watched was, who was it? Jericho, who's maybe not woke himself, but he was in this big match with MJF, one of my favorite heels in the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, MJF is so good.
And it was like this big, you probably watched it, Joey. It was like this big head-to-head match. They're finally going to, fight. And then I can't remember how they just pivoted into just genuinely just suddenly switched into like a singing duet.
Oh yeah. Dinner Debonair. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like over dinner, and then they break the fourth wall, and they're like singing to the camera. And I remember I was reading online all these like old men who were like, this is awful. This is what wrestling's become. I was remember like, your time's over, old man. This is like, that's not, it's still just, I don't know, such a different change from the 90s wrestling I had seen, but clearly you were much more involved in it.
Yeah, well, what was so funny about that? Yeah, Chris Jericho and MJF were in the middle of a feud, and they were like, it was like kind of before that they really had their big blow-off match, but they were having, like a couple of arguments and disagreements. So they said that they were going to do this. They said like, next week on AEW, we're going to talk about this over a steak dinner. and then they had like graphics for it that's just like MJF and Chris Jericho have, a steak dinner conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, they go to the segment, the camera goes into this room, they're talking, and then they start singing, and then it just becomes a full-on choreographed musical number.
It was amazing. One of my favorite moments in all of watching AEW. And to bring it back to like, clearly you've seen like PWG and stuff too, like, one of the first doubles matches I ever saw live, and it's so different in a like French Foreign Legion building with 200 people who are like naturally just know how to part the crowd as soon as someone's going to go over because they're going to fall on top of you. It's an entirely different experience, but it was like this doubles match where I can't remember the guys who they were. I wish I remember their names. But their whole gimmick was, we're going to put your thumbs up your butts.
Oh, yeah. Classic gimmick.
And then, would you believe, by the end of the match, they were losing, and they had to put their own thumbs up their own butts. And I've never seen a crowd more excited over, like, yeah!
Yeah, I'm sure the crowd was chanting, like, thumbs in butts.
Yeah,
thumbs in butts.
You sick fuck, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I understand now that there's more to it than just the Attitude Era, which is still great, but like kind of what this story we've chosen today is about.
Well, yeah, wrestling has really expanded as an art. It's like it has become just like, I think it's respected by so many people as like, this is an art form, and there are so many different things. There's the tough Attitude Era stuff. There's like funnier stuff like you'd often see in PWG. There's like it is just it's just like it's an amazing sport that is, or sport, kind of in quote marks, kind of
sports
not,
entertainment, right? Is that the both,
sports entertainment? Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to say really quick before we dive into this, my professional wrestling fandom is such that I literally faked interest in wanting to write for WWE just so I could get them to fly me out to the WWE Titan Towers in Stanford to do a job interview.
What?
So I could get a selfie in front of the Andre the Giant statue in their lobby.
I mean, that's cool. Did they pay for your flight? That's like
yeah. Okay, yeah. So I'll walk you through this. Yeah. So this was like 29. This is like the process started in early 2019, and like they flew me out in like February of 2020, so like right before the pandemic. And basically, like there was WWE's, I think, notoriously not a great work environment.
No.
It's like if you Google Vince McMahon and you read 3 sentences, you'd be like, oh, this guy would probably
one
suck
of society's
as a boss.
biggest monsters, I would say.
Yeah, truly. So I like, there was kind of some rumblings in the LA comedy scene that they were looking for writers, and they were looking for writers specifically with in the comedy scene. People knew that I was a wrestling fan, so a couple of people kind of like forwarded me some other people. So I like, applied, went through multiple stages of interviews with like their recruiter, and the entire time I was just like, I'm gonna kayfabe them and make them think I want this job.
But I mean, well, part of like, if they had given you a job, you wouldn't take it, or would you just be like,
oh no, they made me an offer. I have the contract framed. Like,
oh hell yeah.
Yeah. Like, so basically, like, I went through the process, and at the time, I was like, I was in a fortunate position to be writing for a lot of different shows I was excited about, and I've had friends who've written for WWE who've told me personal horrifying experience writing there. Yeah. But as like a lifelong fan of wrestling, I was just like, oh, if I get the opportunity, if I can get this as like an all expense paid tour of Titan Towers, why would I not take it?
Yeah.
So I basically like went throughout the entire process. And like kind of at the and it's, if you've ever interviewed for a job you didn't want, it's like the most powerful thing ever.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because like I think that it got to like the point where they were like, okay, you're actually going to interview with the other writers and stuff like that. And they emailed me and they were like, oh, as it turns out, like our head of creative is actually going to be in Los Angeles next week, and he'd love to meet with you. And I responded to them saying like something to the effect of like no, I'm busy that week. You got to fly me out.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
I pulled like it's one of the few times in my life I've pulled a power move where I was just like, oh, I'm sorry, my schedule's pretty busy, but I would still love to chat. If you'd be willing to bring me out to Stanford. And then I got an email back later that was just like, okay, fine.
I don't know if I've ever. I think you're totally right, Joe. I don't know if I've ever had a moment of that strength and confidence to do it. Like, I recall before I came out here when I was trying to find an internship. I got an interview with College Humor in New York.
Oh, great.
And I'm in Indiana. This is way before Dropout, when College Humor was still a thing.
Oh, great. Yeah, College Humor I literally just shot a Dropout show yesterday. They're
hell
so
yeah.
Nice.
All that stuff seems really cool. And we've had like Brian David Gilbert on the pod and stuff. So like,
yeah, they're very nice people, and you should keep in touch with them. They're always
yeah, they've been really cool. And this was like way back when. Oh, funny, we could connect this to the pod's history. I got an interview for an unpaid internship in 2009, and they're like, "Well, we could just do an interview, over the phone or Zoom or whatever." And I'm so desperate for any sort of way out of Indiana that I'm like, "No, I could be there. Like, is it next week? I can be out there." And I used my savings. It was so stupid, Joey. I used my savings.
I've been here. I know how this goes.
I fly to New York. I'm renting an apartment via Craigslist for one night. I only have time to get there, get asleep, wake up in the morning, and walk to their fancy apartment, building complex, and then leave. And I can tell, funny enough. So obviously you haven't had to listen to all these episodes, Joey. Our former episode, Ben Joseph, who's
I love Ben.
Yeah, Ben's great. He was working at College Humor.
Yeah,
interviewed me, and I think he was like, "Why are you here?" Like, he's like, "You're not from New York. Like, what are you doing here?" And I just clearly overdid it. Like, I just was so like, whatever you need, please hire me.
You want my blood? You want some of my blood?
Yeah, I'll do unpaid work for free. Like, please. I just need.
Yeah.
I need to have that other mindset that you've had.
Yeah. Ben Joseph I met him. He wrote an episode of The Simpsons, and he did a Reddit Ask Me Anything in like 2010 or something like that. And I think I just like said like, I want to be a comedy writer. Can I like, have your email? And he jumped on the phone with me. And over the years, he's been a guy that I've like come to every once in a while for just like industry advice. And now it's like, I guess I would say we're peer level, and we just like run into each other at parties, and I'm like friends with his wife and stuff. But he's a very nice dude. Yeah.
Yeah. We had him on to talk about X-Men E is for Extinction. If you all listening want to go back to a previous episode.
Oh, hell yeah. But WWE. So basically like I went into that with like the attitude of like, it's like the one time in my life that I've ever like interviewed for a job that I knew I did not want to take. I convinced them to fly me out. The entire time I was like worried that like they were going to figure me out. And like, I spent like it was like an 8-hour day where I interviewed with like 12 people or something like that.
Wow.
One of them was Brother Love, Bruce Pritchard. If you're familiar with wrestling, he definitely came into the room dressed in like all pink, and I was just like, cool. Okay, it's like, oh, cool, dude, you're still living your gimmick, even the job interview neat.
You're talking about like getting caught. Like, what would happen? Like, would Undertaker walk in and just put you in a coffin, right? Like, they
would just wheel in a coffin, and he would just point at it, and then he'd say, "Get in."
He doesn't even put you in. You just climb in yourself. You're like, okay, yes, Undertaker.
Yeah, I did spend like probably 4 hours in like what I think was just a chair storage room, because I think that the way that company operates is they brought me in and like. And then like they flew me in and they put me up. They had like a black car service that picked me up at like
dude,
JFK
they were wining and dining you.
Yeah, for sure. They put me up at like a Hilton or something like that, and it's like, and I was just like, oh, like I would normally feel bad if WWE wasn't such a garbage company.
No, like, Vince has the money to spend, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I did the interview, and then like a couple of days later I got a job offer, and I kind of went back and forth. I had a couple of other things that like I was a little bit more interested in that kind of came through at the time. And I was like, but I specifically remember I responded to this while I was sitting on the couch of the writer's room of a Quibi show I was writing on.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And my response
this is the future. Did you feel like Quibi back then was like, this is going to be it? Or like...
Quick Bites. I mean, we all knew this was like March of 2020. We knew like how it was going to last.
Isn't it kind of weird how like Quibi was a dumb idea, but like now there's something to like not Quibi, but like verticals are such a big deal?
Yeah, for sure. I was just thinking about that recently, but But yeah, so I was literally sitting on the couch of this Quibi writer's room, and my response to them was just like, thanks so much for the offer. It was truly so great, interviewing for you. I'm really sorry. I just said yes to writing on a Quibi show, and I really want to honor this. This responsibility.
Katzenberg has this vision I have to see through. Yeah.
And then I ended the email with the most nerdy wrestling thing of, but I wish everybody the best of luck in your future endeavors, which is what WWE tells wrestlers when they fire them.
Oh, that's great, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say it, and then you just said "suck it," and there was a picture of you doing the gesture over your balls.
I mean, I really should have done that, but but yeah. So am I a jerk for doing that? Maybe. But look, I got a selfie in front of the Andre statue in their lobby. I'm fine.
That's
with that.
great. Also, I mean, I don't know in terms of leadership now. You probably haven't burned any bridges with who's running it anymore. I don't know who's Triple H. As long as he doesn't know, you shut him down. You're good.
Look, if Triple H was in charge, I'm in.
Oh yeah, because there's been
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Triple H, it's also not great. But
dude, well, maybe this is a way to get into the
we
current
can get
story.
into it, yeah.
I am always fascinated, especially in the last getting into wrestling in the last 10 or 15 years, both the in narrative story, right, and then how that meshes with behind the scene, past the kayfabe, right, of please tell me, Joey, if I'm using any of these terms ever wrong. I'm so embarrassed. I'm going to use a shoot or a work wrong. But what in real world inspires the narratives in the story? Which ones are vastly different, right? it's really interesting that when Hogan and Andre were friends, and then Andre felt bad about they're having a rivalry, and then Hogan's I don't care, I got to make money, or the McMahon family and how they're sort of this Game of Thrones succession thing, whether it's fully real or not.
In real life, kind of.
Yeah, but then Shane McMahon is Dad, if I jump off a building, will you like me? There's weird stuff, and then that goes into the real matches. So I was really curious for this one, and we can talk about the actual narrative of this match, but what's real, what's kayfabe of basically Mick Foley and the Undertaker, whose name I've never learned his real name. I've never looked up.
You don't need to. He's a right-wing podcaster, so you're
I
fine.
know. Well, yeah, and keep going. Undertaker feels so much like one of the most loyal Vince McMahon dudes I've seen in WWE. It felt that way, at least.
Yeah, well, I think that Vince McMahon's thing is that he liked to pattern himself as a paternal figure for everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's that is something that some wrestlers after they leave the WWE will say I feel like he wanted to be my dad, so
yeah.
There are some wrestlers CM Punk famously, I think, told Vince McMahon, yo, dude, I already have a dad. Shut up.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's Vince McMahon's a weird dude. And I definitely I totally get what you're saying about that is one of the things that I really do love about professional wrestling is there are just there are so many multiple levels, or there's multiple levels to just the storylines and the characters and why certain things happen. And it's kind of it's one of the few mediums where the audience actually has a direct and immediate hand in the creative. So it's there have been times where if you're watching, the current season of Fallout and you don't that you don't like what the ghoul does one episode, you can't scream at the ghoul's face and say fuck you for doing that. And then
well, I hate you, Walton Goggins.
Yeah. And then you're I'm using your shoot name, Walton. Yeah, it's and then the writers of the show aren't going to change the story the next week because you yelled at Walton Goggins. It's whereas wrestling, that happens. It's there are times where if the audience views somebody as if they're pushing a wrestler as the company's pushing the wrestler as the big top face of the company, but the audience is booing them, then they're not going to keep doing that for a year. Or
you're making me think of one of the ones I saw WrestleMania. You probably watched it too, Joey, in the last decade. They were pushing Roman Reigns so hard.
Yeah.
And right, there's that big WrestleMania match where he comes out and the entire stadium is booing him. Right, you could feel this is supposed to be my big moment. And he's he doesn't talk for 3 minutes because he's trying to smile through essentially we all hate you, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, well then finally they turned him heel, and then he became one of the biggest draws in the history of wrestling. It's that's an example where the Vince McMahon is notoriously somebody that's very set in his ways, and it took a lot of work to get him to pivot on any ideas.
He pushed Reigns so hard, it felt for a while.
Yeah, well, he pushed Reigns so hard, but it got to the point where Reigns was booed so heavily that when his contract came up for negotiation, part of his contract terms on his end negotiating was you got to make me a bad guy. The audience has booed me so
Oh,
hard.
cool, cool. It's good to smart.
Yeah.
He had that turn.
Yeah. It's so, like you as a fan can dictate like what happens in the story and what the payoffs are. And, going into like the history of this match a little bit that we're about to talk about.
Please, yeah.
So at the time, the Undertaker had been in WWE for probably about a decade at this point. His gimmick, if you're not a wrestling fan, is he's a professional wrestling mortician who also is a warlock, I guess.
Yeah, he shoots. I've seen him shoot lightning at people before.
Yeah, he shot lightning. He's been buried alive, and then his hand has come out from the grave.
Yeah.
Like he's descended onto the ring, into the ring, wearing bat wings. Like he's made it rain over the ring before.
Great, maybe one of the best intro songs. Like I know it's just some old church.
Yeah, it's like the funeral march or whatever.
But like the gong and the lights going out is such a fucking good intro. Like that is so rad to do.
Yeah, and I mean, and he became like a cult leader for a little while. And he's a wrestler that was like, and then he was like a biker who did MMA but also had magic powers. That is another.
Oh, sorry. But like, I remember at some point Stephanie and Triple H were in a cult, or like she was like a Queen of Blades or something. Was that part of the Undertaker? Or was that a separate?
Yeah. Well, no, that was so Stephanie. So okay, so he was in. So his cult stable was called the Ministry of Darkness.
Cool. Yeah.
And Vince McMahon's stable was called the Corporation. And then at some point in the Attitude Era, they had a merger and they became the Corporate Ministry.
Cool. That's a great dystopian novel story.
Yeah, for sure. And Stephanie McMahon, I don't think ever formally joined, but Undertaker did kidnap her and attempt to crucify her, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin, that beer drinking redneck, came out and saved Stephanie McMahon because according to Jim Ross, it's the right thing to do.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so professional wrestling fucking rocks.
So at this point in time, also like and Joey, you're definitely more the expert. We didn't even get into the fact that before we started this pod, you were like, I'm a bit of a Garfield aficionado.
We can talk. Look, I've already talked about how I swindled WWE out of a plane ticket to go.
And at one point, Jim Davis asked you to come out to Indiana, and you were like, I'm not going to Indiana, Jim Davis.
Yeah. And I was just like, hey man, I'll do it. But really, I was writing for Heathcliff at the time.
I worked on a Heathcliff project a long time ago.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait, was it with Peter? Was it with Peter Gallagher, the great Heathcliff writer who invented Garbage Ape?
No. Oh, that would have been fantastic. Small short story. You would know him too. My former writing partner and producer Aaron Walke and I, when we were a writing team.
Oh, I didn't know you guys were a writing team. I'm getting coffee with him on Monday.
Yeah, we started out together, and that's why we were both on Troll Hunters and then Wizards.
Got it.
But like one of our first gigs was this. We weren't even repped, but this our agent was like, I can send you for super cheap freelance to the studio. It was just a producer. The guys like made the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, the live action ones. They just bought the rights to IPs and then kind of flipped them into like live action.
Yeah. I know.
And one of the ones they were working on was Heathcliff. They also had us working on a Brave Little Toaster reboot that was doomed. But like the Heathcliff one was really interesting because I loved that cartoon growing up. And then as I went more and more, I was like, oh, Garfield like stole all of Heathcliff's stuff. Like just
Heathcliff came out like 3 months before Garfield.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was like 2 years. I'm sorry to call it Garfield more, but yeah.
Well, okay, so like I would say like Heathcliff as a character predates Garfield by like not very long.
No. But do you think
maybe 2? It might be 2 years, but regardless, it's like shorter than the duration of a high school education.
That's a great term for it. I don't want to blatantly accuse Jim Davis of going, I like that. There's just something weird about there being two popular orange cartoon cats, and our Walke's and I's entire stupid feature premise was like, what if there was a cat that took Heathcliff's kind of like vibe and became super successful, and Heathcliff became kind of bitter about it. It was not going to be made into a movie. It was too meta and weird. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's like fun. That's like something that you say to like make each other laugh.
Yeah.
And then you're like, if they buy it, cool.
That was what made us interested in doing it. Anyway, so not Garfield. We're not talking about Garfield. We're not talking about Heathcliff, even though...
yeah, so when Garfield wrestled Heathcliff at Hell in a Cell 1998...
he took... Oh, my God, Odie's coming down the ramp.
Oh, no. Yeah, he's got that crimson tongue.
At this point in time in WWF, because before the World Wildlife Federation, as far as I understand it, like they're kind of like the losing program compared to WCW, right?
Yeah. So this was in 1998, and at the time, WWF was competing with an organization called World Championship Wrestling, which was another professional wrestling company that was bankrolled by Ted Turner and aired on TNT,
man,
DBS.
yeah.
Ted Turner, I feel like history remembers him well in like in the wrestling sense of just like, oh yeah, he basically like WWF had basically a monopoly on wrestling, starting as recently in going as far back as like probably the mid '80s or something like that. And Ted Turner, being a billionaire, just was able to. He genuinely is like a Southern boy who was a huge wrestling fan, so he just threw a bunch of money at like, at his companies to start this wrestling company that genuinely became really popular. Like Hulk Hogan jumped over. They created an organization or created a stable called the NWO, which was one of the most popular things in wrestling. And
which you probably couldn't call it New World Order now, right? There'd be too many conspiracy theorists who are like, what are they trying to say?
For sure. Look, it all started with Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott.
They're the Illuminati.
So it was for a time, I think it was like 83 or 84 weeks, the most popular professional wrestling program, beating out WWF. And they beat them so heavily that WWF actually came very close to bankruptcy. And the thing that brought them out of bankruptcy was the popularity of like the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and a big like kind of one level below that on the pecking order of this amazing stable of wrestlers that WWF had at the time that were all young, hungry, and wanted to like prove something was Mankind, Mick Foley, and The Undertaker, Mark Calloway. Like The Undertaker was basically Vince McMahon's, like you said, most loyal soldier.
He felt like the Mountain to his like a Joffrey or something kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he just like, there are a lot of wrestlers that jumped ship to WCW because just the contracts are better. But The Undertaker was one of the few guys that just like was like, I'm going down with the ship, And they brought in Mick Foley, also known as Cactus Jack in WCW, who is known as being kind of like a hardcore wrestler, a guy that did a lot of really insane stunts, like, jumped off of a lot of crazy things, bled a lot, fell in thumbtacks.
I'll sacrifice myself for the
yeah, it's like his whole thing was like, if I like break my arm, but that causes me to win the match and hurt you a little bit, I'll do it. It's like any sacrifice that I do is enough if it hurts you.
An amazingly endearing quality in my eyes, right? Like I very much associate with this like sacrifice yourself for the good of the show or whatever it is.
Yeah, and the great thing about, depending on who you are, the great thing about like Mick Foley is like that wasn't a character. That guy was like willing to do it all.
Oh, dude, yeah. Sorry, I met him once or twice. I even got to do like stand up with him one time. It was a weird random. He was performing at the Comedy Store. I happened to just get to open for him. It was not planned. It was not his.
That's great.
But he was such a nice dude. Like he was so genuine. His stand up was basically him just telling wrestling stories for like 10 minutes. He seems like one of the least like I am a broken, corrupt man who has sold my soul for this. He seems like just a sweetheart, a big sweetheart.
Oh yeah, like as a person, he's a huge Santa Claus and theme park fan. Like to the point that and he does fundraisers for like RAIN. It's like for for organizations that are fighting domestic abuse and stuff like that. He's like a wrestler who's like politically very progressive. Like he's done a lot of videos where he just like says Donald Trump sucks.
Yeah, he recently just announced basically he's like done with WWE because of all the Trump.
Yeah, because they're so in bed with the Trump administration. Like literally, Triple H I think there's a special envoy employee in WWE where their job is to be basically Triple H's liaison to the White House.
Jeez, I mean, Linda McMahon's in the head of it. It's so
is the Department of Education.
My God, it breaks my brain.
Vince McMahon and Trump are like legit best friends. Like so, it's like it is. It is, like Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame. Like Mick Foley, especially with all the ice stuff, kind of like put his foot down and was like, my WWE Legends contract where you can put me in video games expires next year, and I am not renewing it until you stop doing this.
Put him in some like indie games at this point, right? Put him in Absolem. Put him in like Vampire Survivors at this point.
I would look if I could play Cactus Jack in like Minecraft. I would.
Oh my God, it'd be so good.
Yeah, put Dude Love in Fortnite.
I was thinking of Dude Love because I haven't seen too many matches of him. That was his other persona. That was kind of just like pacifist hippie. Right?
Yeah, well, so Dude Love's deal is that basically that was Mick Foley. He's wanted to be a wrestler since he was a teenager.
Yeah.
So Dude Love was his like teenage wrestling persona where he was just like a real heartthrob, but he's like kind of a dork. So I was watching a dork just like try to flirt with ladies and stuff. And the reason that and this ties into the story, one of the things that got kind of him started as a wrestler is that he filmed a short film that was about this Dude Love character. And in this short film, he like jumped off of the roof for real of his friend's house and like landed on a mattress in their front yard.
Hell yeah.
And it's like that clip has been replayed on, wrestling television a trillion times as just like, oh, even when he was like 16, he was a maniac.
Backyard wrestling, pre-Jackass, like all of that.
Yeah. This was like the 80s, I'm sure. And so like basically they brought in Mick Foley, Cactus Jack in like I think 1996 in WWE because the Undertaker, because he was like Vince McMahon's loyal soldier and he'd stuck around for so long, he kind of beaten everybody. And at this point, the Undertaker, the human Mark Calloway is like close to 7 feet tall. He's like this big, tall, like intimidating wrestler.
He's a real life Frankenstein's monster at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. So he kind of beaten everybody, and the audience was like basically he needed like somebody who felt like a formidable opponent from him. So they brought this like hardcore wrestler in, Mankind, to basically try to elevate, to kind of like remind people of the Undertaker is like an interesting character.
And the aspect of Mankind, right, is as I read him selling to, because I think Vince wanted to call him Mason the Mutilator, and then he was like, no, call
me. He was like Hannibal Lecter if he was a wrestler, so it's like he wore a mask that was like kind of a Hannibal Lecter mask.
But he had like a business shirt, which to me always evoked like falling down. Like, I'm kind of a man who just snapped and I can't handle it anymore.
Oh, no. Okay, so the story there. Okay, well, here we go.
Please,
okay, so Mankind, when he first signed with WWE, like he was, like he was kind of a Hannibal Lecter character.
Sure.
Like I think that literally all of his promos were like he was announced as being like from the boiler room,
It's like a Twisted Metal character or something.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like he was. I think that he's famous for his entrance music was this like kind of creepy violin music, but then when he would win, his outro music was like beautiful piano music that was supposed to be like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Professional wrestling, very derivative of other art forms.
No, but that's what's so great. They pull so many things into it and then make that.
Yeah, for sure. But then so he got over really well as that character, but then then at some point, God, I forgot. Okay, it's like when the Ministry was feuding with the Ministry of Darkness was feuding with the corporation. Vince McMahon saw Mankind and was just like, he's gross and he sucks, but he's the one guy who doesn't hate me. Hey, you can call me dad and I'll call you son if you keep the Undertaker from sacrificing me.
Sean McMahon just in the background going, I'd be your son.
Yeah. And he's just like, shut up, kid.
Shut up, kid.
Yeah. So then like Mankind joined. He like didn't officially join the corporation, but he was kind of like somebody that Vince McMahon was like teasing to join the corporation. Yeah, I saw like
he was like he had a business suit for some point.
Yeah, right? It was So he took this guy out of the boiler room and put him in a business suit and a tie. And professional wrestling's great. So he was like Hannibal Lecter, but if Hannibal Lecter wore a ratty business shirt and button tie and was like he was too disgusting for them not to let him join the corporation, but they told him like, we still love you, really trying to like lead him on so that
it would be like the
Undertaker from murdering them.
Yeah, it'd be like a great 80s 90s kids comedy, right? Of like Homeless Millionaire or whatever, you know what I mean? Just
that's kind of the vibe, and it's sort of like but it's like it's a very much they were using him for sure. Like they were using him in storyline to like they were just essentially saying that they liked him so that he would protect them from the Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin and stuff. And basically, like at this point, the Undertaker, this is probably a year or two into Mick Foley's or Mankind's run in WWE. The Undertaker and Mankind had already wrestled probably half a dozen to a dozen times, which is a lot in professional wrestling. And their matches were good, but at a certain point, the audience was kind of getting tired of it. So about 6 months prior, the WWF had introduced this match type called Hell in a Cell, which is it's a cage match where like basically usually in cage matches, the cage is like right up next to the ring and there's no space between the ring and the actual cage. And the way that you win the match is you climb out of the cage or you pin the guy or something like that.
Yeah.
And it gives a lot of opportunity in wrestling. The cage is like 20 feet tall and it gives people an opportunity to like
There'll
jump
be no interference. No one's going to run in down the ramp
for sure,
and like mess with it.
So Hell in a Cell is basically that, but the cage is like a little bit wider, so it encompasses the ringside area. And also the cage is like taller and has a roof on it. And so they basically kind of arbitrarily said like this next match for Undertaker and Mankind is going to be a Hell in a Cell match. There wasn't really a lot of build up. This is also, maybe 4 or 5 months after the first ever Hell in a Cell match, which is considered to be one of the best wrestling matches of all time.
Taker versus Shawn Michaels, I believe.
Taker,
right?
HBK in like 1997. It was like October 1997 or something like that. So and at this point, the Undertaker also had like a broken foot, so he wasn't super mobile. Like,
Dude,
as
but he's climbing that cell with a broken foot. I can't believe both of these men are just scaling the side of a cell.
Oh yeah. So this is a match that like the audience, like kind of going into it, the audience was like not super into it, and they kind of stapled the Hell in a Cell stipulation on it just to kind of like add a little something extra to it.
Well, yeah, and
but
just
like
interject. Sorry, Joe, I interrupt you. Just the little bit I had read. I'm curious how much that you felt this was one that like I read and I saw in a video. Foley felt like before this time that he had sort of lost the audience. That maybe alludes to like what you were talking about, people getting kind of burnt out, and he had that specter of Hell in a Cell over him of like, so I got to really do something.
So they were coming off of like, the first Hell in a Cell, this was the second Hell in a Cell match, but the first Hell in a Cell match, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker from a couple months prior, considered one of the best matches of all time. The crowd was very hot for it. So then the second Hell in a Cell match, it was like the Undertaker a couple of months later with like, not in storyline, in real life, like the Undertaker had kind of a broken foot.
Yeah.
And Mankind as a character was very cold. The audience wasn't really responding to them. So they were like, we need to do something crazy or the audience is going to think this sucks. And also like in a real way, it's like if the audience is apathetic to you as a wrestler, that's how you like get fired in real life. Like,
if you don't have the heat or whatever on you, right?
Yeah. Like, if the audience doesn't care, it's like, that's like death for you from a career standpoint. So like, it really felt like, a make or break match, kind of, the Undertaker would have been fine, but kind of for both guys. And so the match had like a lot of different aspects of it in terms of the storyline of the match of just like, I don't know, the Undertaker wants to kill Mankind because he wants to kill Vince McMahon, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, can I ask you one detail about the story I couldn't find out beforehand because it clearly had beef with McMahon, but like the big one I saw was that before this, Paul Bearer, who is Undertaker's like
Paul Bearer, the Undertaker's
second
manager, and the reason he's called Paul Bearer is that his job is he's a pallbearer.
No, it's great. He's like an Addams Family character, right?
Yeah,
and
he rocks, yeah.
And he's like he almost like living black and white, like he's so pale and has these like Gomez Addams type like looks to him. But I watched a match.
His catchphrase is "Oh yes."
He looks like a Warner Bros. He looks like a Ted Turner cartoon.
Yeah.
And I saw the match where like the big thing was they're fighting over Paul Bearer's urn, and whoever gets the urn like wins the match.
Oh yeah. Also, other aspect of the Undertaker is that his Paul Bearer, his manager, carried an urn around. That the urn gave the Undertaker powers, and maybe contained the ashes of the Undertaker's parents, who were killed by the Undertaker's brother, by the way, in a fire. I guess also Paul Bearer was Kane's dad. Look, there's a lot going on.
Oh shit! I never knew that he was Kane's. The story, wrestling's so great.
Wrestling rocks.
I couldn't figure out, because I missed the match beforehand, why did Paul Bearer turn on Undertaker and help Mankind instead? Do you know?
Okay, so that is because God. Okay, there's so much.
I'm putting you on the spot. If you could, I couldn't figure out why he turned.
So, what happened around this? Like, if I'm remembering correctly, if I'm getting my timelines right, and if I'm not, please. If you're listening to this, tag me on the socials and let me know.
Email us at storiesatstickpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, remind me how wrong I am, please. But so there was a storyline happening at the time with The Undertaker leading up to the Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels in 1997, where basically like I think Paul Bearer turned on The Undertaker, and I think I think the reason was just like, you have a brother, or your brother is still alive, or whatever. And it's like the deal is that the Undertaker thought that his brother Kane died in a fire when they were kids, and that's all. And that's like implied that like that's also what killed the Undertaker's parents, and
they're all in the urn,
and their ashes are in the urn or something like that. So then Paul Bearer turned on the Undertaker, and at some point, I forget if Paul Bearer sided with Mankind before this, but it was around then. Basically, Paul Bearer like revealed that the Undertaker's brother Kane is alive, and then like the match ended, or the Hell in a Cell with HBK ended with like Kane coming back from the dead basically as this like 7.5 foot tall monster that looks like Jason from the Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, there's already so
rips
much
the door off the cage, like like. And the Undertaker's just like, my brother's alive, and now he's choke slamming me.
I love to think that's how he said it exactly as the voice.
Yeah, and then they wrestle, and then like Paul Bearer sided with his Kane, and then at some point it was revealed that Kane was actually just the Undertaker's half brother, and then Paul Bearer was Kane's dad because Undertaker's mom cheated with Undertaker's dad with Paul Bearer or something, you know. So yes, and all this. Imagine the audience freaking out over this. This is thought of as like an amazing storyline.
The match I watched, the flat where I think seems like the one that Bearer fully turns on Undertaker, and he's like, Mankind's got Undertaker in his like mandible claw, which is one of the grossest holds I've ever seen. Where you just
it's his finishing move where he basically put his fingers in your mouth.
So gross. I mean, they're doing way worse to themselves, but just seeing Paul Bearer like kick the Undertaker is like, this is wrong. This is not how it's supposed to be. Anyway, I figured that was a major part of their rivalry. Of like, you took my number 2 from me.
Yeah, for sure. So like, I mean, I think that was, God, I mean, there's so much to this story. Like, there's so much to the Undertaker and Kane backstory that literally WWE hired a writer to write an in-universe novel that you can buy that like is like 500 pages long that like kind of cleans it up because it's so, or just like puts it on paper.
Sure, so we're all gonna figure out exactly what happened. Yeah, right.
Yeah, because there's so many versions of like, I don't know. It's just like it's a wrestling storyline. So so you could buy the Undertaker and Kane backstory canon in universe novel if you want. You know,
hell yeah.
So you know, all of this is leading up to this. So like after all of this, you know, the Undertaker beats Kane at WrestleMania, and then I think a couple months later, this they're doing this, Mankind comes back, and then the unfinished business is the Undertaker and Mankind are wrestling in a Hell in a Cell match. So like, yeah, it's like it has to top one of the best matches of all time in WWF, and also what is popularly considered to be one of the better like storylines in the history of wrestling, this Undertaker and Kane story. And so they went into it knowing there were high expectations. So I can just kind of go into like the play-by-play of the match.
Yeah, I was writing it down too. I'd love to talk. Yeah, the way we talk about it too, Joey, I welcome you to lead us through it, is like how you see it as sort of the beats of a story too, right? Like even this fight is sort of the ebb and flows of who has the advantage, how are they riffing with it, and how much of the time that like a lot of the stuff in this story, as far as I understand, it seems to be genuine. They didn't mean for things like the cage to break. Yeah.
So the high spot, the big moment of the Undertaker HBK match, Shawn Michaels match, was that they both climbed up to the top of this like 30-foot tall cell and fought on top of the cell, and then Shawn Michaels did like kind of a hanging drop off of the cell through a table. That was like, pretty vicious, but like it seemed pretty safe and controlled.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea from these wrestlers was like, oh, we should start this match on top of the cell.
It's so they rushed to it, dude. I couldn't believe when I watched it.
Yeah, it's literally like Mankind climbs up to the top of this 30-foot tall cell that is, that's covered in chain link. He has a steel chair with him when he's doing it.
I think it's genuinely impressive physical act to just climb this chain link fence personally.
Oh yeah, and it's not like there's not like pre-cut, like this is a chain link fence. There's not pre-cut like holes for them to use. It's like this is just like they're scaling a 30-foot fence, climbing on top of this. Then the Undertaker comes out and he climbs it with a broken foot, and it's like, and not in storyline, it's not wrapped, it's like he's hiding it. But for real,
the only advantage he has is he's so tall, he can
he's so tall,
he just scales half.
He's so tall, he just stepped onto the cell.
Yeah, he just rolled.
He's still a bunny hop, and so the match starts, and something that they did not expect is that when the Undertaker and like the top of this cell is also just chain link. When the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels were fighting on top of this cell, the Undertaker is like 300 pounds and Shawn Michaels was probably like 180 pounds at the time. Mm-hmm. So there's like a little bit of it's like a little bit less weight. Mankind is probably at this point, around, high 200.
Yeah, I think they said like 280 pounds or something when he was coming down the ring.
So it's like, it's just, there's more weight. So they immediately start like kind of breaking through the cell a little bit, like literally like the Undertaker's foot goes through the cell, and below them is just a 30-foot drop to
and you can tell when they react to it, they're like, we did not expect that to happen.
Yeah, they did not this is put together legit with zip ties.
Dude, that's like, how did they cut corners on that?
Yeah. So the big spot that they decide to start the match with is within the first probably like 2 minutes, the Undertaker just grabs Mankind and chucks him full force from the top of the cell off of the cell through like essentially just a plywood announce table with no crash pad under it.
Yeah. And the most iconic fall maybe in WWE.
Probably like wrestling as in history, other than like maybe the Andre the Giant body slam. It's like probably one of the most iconic falls in wrestling history. This is when Jim Ross screams, "By God, he's broken in half."
I heard that they killed him. As God is my witness, he's broken in half.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like, and it's like, from a perspective of stunt work, it's so impressive because like there's no crash pads. Also, it's like the steel barricade that's holding the audience back is like between the cell and the ring. So there's really probably only like a 7-foot gap, and like in that 7-foot gap, there's like maybe like a 4-foot announce table that has like huge like CRT TV monitors on them.
Oh, dude, yeah, it looked like he hit like an audio box or something.
Yeah, it's like this is not set up for stunts. This is like this guy probably had like inches on either side to like he would like Mankind that he would die if he hit like a monitor wrong,
yeah,
dropping 30 feet and like with concrete below them. So it's like one of the most intense and like catastrophic and like real falls in wrestling history. So that happens, they literally raise up the cage with the Undertaker on it so they can get the EMTs out with like a gurney.
Yeah. It's so funny to hear Jim Ross and like the King, I think was the other, like they're just like, he's trapped up there. Like, they don't know he's still up there. I'm like, no, I think they're trying to get the medics in there to make sure.
Yeah, it's like they're getting medics in, and this is probably real. Like I feel like this to these, like this guy legit just fell 30 feet onto basically concrete. Like it's there is. Like, and this is where like kind of wrestling the reality and the fake world of it kind of like blend together in a really great ways. Like they're wheeling Mick Foley out, and I'm sure that the EMTs are probably, or like the sort of the backstage producers are probably telling Mick Foley while he's on the EMT, just while he's on the gurney and they're wheeling him backstage, just like, hey man, if you're like hurt for real, we can just end the match now, it's fine.
I sorry, go ahead.
But Mick Foley, when they're almost the way out, down the ramp, gets off this gurney and like limps his way back to that
dude
ring.
It's great. And again, like the timing of it, I've seen that moment so many times. I never watched the full match until we did this episode. I always assume that's like 20 minutes in, right? That's
like the first 3 minutes.
The first thing they run to it. I was watching a video of Foley and Undertaker, like now much later, talking about it, where they're like, that's basically the equivalent of like a boxing match with like a 1-hit KO in the first round. They never try to do that, but like that moment's so big, they probably could have gotten away with it. Like they probably could have, but their wrestling, ethics were like, no, we can't just do that in 1 minute. We got to do more.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like there was nobody would have faulted Mankind as a character for being like, oh, he's dead, got it, and nobody would have faulted like Mick Foley, the person who portrays Mankind as a human or professional, is like, oh, that guy was real weak. It's like it just sort of like nobody would have faulted that guy if he would have just laid on that gurney and went to the hospital.
I saw Taker saying like when he's looking down over, it's like it's an iconic shot of like a guy who's already 8 foot tall on top of like a 20-foot tall cage looking down at him, saying like, I was just making sure you were still breathing.
So Mankind, Mick Foley, like gets off of this gurney and like limps it because he is messed up, and he like limps his way back to this 30-foot cage with the Undertaker still on top of it. And like EMTs are like, it's like so amazing. Like EMTs are grabbing him and trying to say like, seriously, man, no, you're like, you're very hurt. Do not do this. And like, he like probably with like, I think he like had a dislocated shoulder that they had to put back in place.
He's limping the whole time.
Yeah. It's like, he's like in real life messed up, and he like climbs this 30-foot cell to fight the Undertaker again. And like one thing that I love about this, I'm just going to like the slightest aside is, I think that this match is it's to me the best professional wrestling match in history to show a non-wrestling fan. I played this match at a comedy show that I did where it was like I had a half-hour comedy show, and then I just had another 30 minutes to kill to fill the hour. So I just was like, also, we'll play the 1998 Mick Foley Hell in a Cell match, and it was great. And like, and a bunch of and so like there are a bunch of comedians that like are like smarmy and don't want to like something authentically watching it. And, like so many of them joked when Mankind fell off of the cell for the first time of just like, wow, that was a short match, or just like, oh, I guess he fell for real. But the second he got off that gurney, every single one of them locked in, and they're like, what?
Yeah, dude, the storyline, both kayfabe and reality, like is so
He's like,
endearing.
you should be dead. Like,
yeah. Oh my God, he's getting up. He's going back. It's Captain America against Thanos. He's not giving up. It's like that.
Yeah,
level
right. It's Captain America against Thanos, but also his gimmick is that like he's like Hannibal Lecter, but if he had an office job.
And also sometimes he has a sock. I don't know if Mr. Sacco had come out at this point.
Yeah,
in his career.
I'm not sure if I forget if Mr. Sacco was a thing yet. It might have been a thing. But so yeah, he climbs this cage. Him and the Undertaker like exchange blows again at the top of the cell. 30 feet up. And then they do another spot where like the Undertaker picks up Mick Foley, Mankind, to like choke slam him on the cell. But I think that they had a feeling that this was a bad idea because the second the Undertaker did it, Mick Foley busted through the top of the cell and fell 20 feet into this wrestling ring.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that
on
was
top
not
of the chair.
Yeah, and that no, it happened. And this was not supposed to happen. This was the first fall was scripted. Like it was dangerous, but they like knew it was going to happen. Whereas this second fall, like once again, 6 minutes beforehand, this dude just fell 30 feet onto his like shoulder, and it's like now he's getting chokeslammed through the cell and landing in this wrestling ring, which is basically just like hardwood and metal. This is not like a trampoline, and like lands essentially like basically just straight on his head.
It looked bad. It looked really, really bad.
And the steel chair that he brought up with him earlier was still on top of the cage, and it was on the panel that the Undertaker slammed Mankind through, and the chair fell behind Mankind. Like it was like delayed where like he fell just like a little bit earlier in the chair, so it rotated in air, and when he hit the ground, the chair leg caught him right in the mouth.
Oh Jesus.
And like busted two of his teeth. One of the teeth like literally somehow made its way into Mankind's nose.
Yeah.
So,
they're calling it like a booger. They're like, what's that in his teeth? I think that's part of plywood in his nose. Like, no, that's his incisor went through his lip. Went
through his lip into his nose, and he was knocked unconscious at this point. And like legit, like once again, knocked unconscious to the point that like old wrestlers like Terry Funk, who's on camera and in real life was a good friend to Mick Foley, was not even a part of this match, but he just ran out and like he just knew like, oh, that guy's unconscious. I need to go out and just like get beat up to fill time. So like,
oh my God, yes.
So the Undertaker's like beating up referees, choke slamming Terry Funk. Like, this is like, it's kind of like this wrestler is hurt. We need to do something to fill time for him.
I saw Terry Funk talk about it for a little bit of like, yeah, exactly. You said, Joey, they are just trying to both cover and like make sure it all feels the narrative. One of my favorite moments of covering is in a match later where Vince McMahon, I'm sure you know this moment, he like blows out both of his calves.
Oh yeah, blows out both of his quads in the Royal Rumble in like 2007.
And like
something.
They can't stop the match or like interrupt it to do that, and he's too much of an egomaniacal man to admit it. So like they're kind of just, you can see like 10 men trying to figure out why Vince is just sitting on his butt like a little baby man during the match. But it's like, it feels like a stage theater show that's like, oh God, the lights went off, or someone, their mic's out. What do we do? Like it's so interesting to watch that sort of scramble. Like,
well, yeah, for sure. But like the version of that happened in this match is just like the Undertaker had to just like choke slam a bunch of dudes in fill time,
who are all also likewise like whispering to Mankind, "Are you allowed?" Make sure
just like, "Are you alive?" Like because like that second fall not supposed to happen. So and like once again, I'm sure that was another thing where like if like I'm sure there were a lot of people that were like, hey, Mankind, just like lay down, just let the Undertaker pin you. You're not gonna like lose pay for this. You've already fallen twice and probably almost died. Like,
especially after the second fall, like his initial thing, like, well, we can't do a minute and a half match. Like, I think another 10 minutes had gone on at that point. Like, they could have totally justified that's the end of the match, and it sounds like Mick Foley's just going like, I'm good.
I think that he like while unconscious, like while barely conscious, was just like, no, I still got it in me. So he like lumbers up with like his tooth with a hole in his face, like one of his teeth in his nose, like his shoulder separated. There's like this weird red splotch on his side that looks like internal bleeding. Like
I think they said that on the match too. The Chris like, oh, where's that blood coming from? He must be bleeding internal, like JR.
Yeah, it's like it just looks like this dude like for real got hit by like 5 cars. But when you know it, he like stands the fuck up and squares up with the Undertaker, and they wrestle for another probably 10 minutes. Like there's a point where Mick Foley pulls out like a big thing of thumbtacks and gets slammed onto it a bunch.
Yeah, I'm curious how you're familiar. I saw him saying that this was the first time tacks were used in an NA wrestling match.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be tough to say it was the first time used in like a North American wrestling match because, like, I'm sure there was some like Mid-South NWA
Yeah,
1970s like
sure.
Dusty Rhodes match where that happened. But it's like, at least on WWF television, I think this was one of the first times thumbtacks had ever been used. So, and it's a spot that it's often done in wrestling where wrestlers will pull out a bag of thumbtacks, pour them into the ring, and then slam somebody on the thumbtacks, and then they like lift up and they're backs covered in thumbtacks and they're bleeding and shit.
I've seen other versions. I'm sure you like. I've seen Legos. There's like I branded something from AEW that does like D&D dice. That is great.
Oh yeah, I wrestled one professional wrestling match. And I did a spot where I chokeslammed a 300-pound man onto a bunch of tiny plastic Lego hats. So
hell yeah, dude!
Yeah,
what was your character's name?
Okay, so my character, so I was in a trios, a 3-person team with 2 of my comedian friends. We were called the Hat Boys. And our gimmick is that we love hats and most of our combat's hat based. So it's like, so person puts on a propeller hat and then climbs up to the top rope and spins the propeller and jumps off.
Great bit.
I did a spot where it's like I pulled out like a bag of tiny plastic Lego hats and dumped them in the ring, and then like the wrestler I was wrestling, Leroy Patterson, I got to shout him out. He's an XPW legend and a great indie wrestler who very thankfully let me wrestle him and took bumps for me.
How did you source that many Lego hats?
Honestly, I went on eBay and spent like $200.
Yeah.
But so like, yeah, it was like he tried to clothesline me and I ducked it, and when I ducked it, I caught him right in the throat and picked him up and slammed him. But we did not win that match. But like, oh man,
I can't believe the Hat Boys didn't survive.
That was actually one of my favorite parts of the match. Is like when it was myself, 2 comedians named Matt Mazzani and Nick Ligger versus 3 wrestlers. It was Leroy Patterson. And then Dino Winwood, who was the former general manager of PWG for a while,
okay.
And Peter Avalon, who wrestled in AEW as Pretty Peter Avalon. And when we were like figuring out the match beforehand, like these 3 guys we were wrestling were like, okay, so what's your finish? And we were like, finish? Do you think we're gonna win this match? What marks would we be as 3 comedians if we're like, we need to beat these real wrestlers?
You overcame it, yeah.
Yeah. So like, they super kicked us with hats on their feet or something like that and pinned us, Yeah. But so, this Undertaker Mick Foley match went for another, 10 minutes or so. Yeah, like Mick Foley's getting slammed on thumbtacks. He's doing the mandible claw on the Undertaker into thumbtacks.
Can I say what a pro he is too? By the way, that first, like, clearly Foley was into the tacks, right? That's like,
yeah.
It feels like the one thing they had planned, really, besides other throw me over, was like, we're gonna do some stuff with tacks at the end. And the first time they use it, Undertaker like power bombs him, and he kind of misses the tacks, and you can see Foley like realize in that moment and roll over onto the tacks to really, and then he's power bombed like 3 more times onto it. But
yeah, well, and I'm sure like probably because one of the secrets in wrestling is the wrestlers are talking to each other a lot in the ring. Mm-hmm. It's like they just do it at kind of like a low enough volume that the audience can't hear it. So I'm sure that was probably something where like the Undertaker was probably like, hey, I'm not going to throw you on the tacks, man. You're like pretty beat up. like I feel bad. Like, look, we can just finish this match. And
yeah.
Mick Foley was just like, throw me on the tacks 5 more times.
I know that would break the entire point of the sport, but like the way I think like NFL does these now, like here's a microphone on one of the players' helmets or like one of the sideline coaches, so you're hearing it in the game. I would kill for a couple like professional wrestling matches just to hear behind the curtain. I just want to know. I don't know. We don't want to hear that lingo.
Well, there is some like John Cena famously calls his matches very loudly.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a couple of WWE matches that there's specifically like a Hell in a Cell match that happened in like the 2010s or something that WWE chose not to air on television because John Cena was calling the match so loudly that like it was just clear as day. The camera's picking it up.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But it is, and it is. So it is an interesting part of the sport where it's just like, oh yeah, they're talking to each other constantly in the ring. They're like reminding each other. They, some wrestlers will figure out the entire match beforehand and they're just kind of reminding each other about stuff. Or it might be something where like they've run a couple of, spots beforehand and it's just something like, hey, I'm gonna bring out the thumbtack, slam me twice or whatever.
Yeah, I saw Undertaker talking to Foley about this in one of those like later videos where Undertaker recalls constantly going like, are you all right? And Foley kept saying like, I'm okay. And Foley's like, I have no memory of saying that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, because I think that when he landed in the ring through the cell, he was like knocked unconscious and woke up in a hospital bed, basically.
Yeah.
So the match ended with the Undertaker pinning Mick Foley after damn near killing this man several times,
mm-hmm.
and not in storyline terms, and also in real life. And in this match, like the Undertaker was the good guy. Mick Foley was the bad guy. But this became like a really specific and interesting turning point in kind of the WWF WCW war, and also Mick Foley's career as a wrestler and after wrestling. In that this was before, I would say, most fans were, I guess I would say, internet fans. We were smartened up. We know, the spoilers, and we know all the backstage gossip. This was when probably most fans kind of like watched what they saw on TV and didn't really pay attention to the extra levels of kayfabe to it. But even though Mick Foley was like a bad guy at this time, people kind of look back at this match and they were like, okay, so like that, I get that this is like, predetermined or whatever, but also that guy looks like the toughest guy I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Also, I love that he's not like, there's so many big wrestlers like The Rock and Cena who are just like muscle-bound dudes. I love that Foley, clearly strong, just looks like kind of a blue-collar guy. The way he's built and everything.
He famously calls himself like a pear-shaped brawler. It's like, he's not, and he's like a thicker dude, but like not. And he's for sure muscular, but he's not like a, an action figure, and
he looks like the Big Lebowski. Like he's just like kind of that.
It is kind of like if the dude was a wrestler for sure.
Especially when he's wearing the Dude Love tie-dye.
For sure. Yeah. So, this started like kind of a slow point of like the audience just like, I don't know, it was really this beautiful moment. And it's like one of the first times that I can kind of remember it in professional wrestling, which is like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to like this character, but I respect this person.
Sure.
And that, over the span of a year, kind of slowly forced WWE's hand for the audience to like make Mick Foley a good guy. I think that same year, or like maybe early the next year, like even beat The Rock for the WWF championship briefly. Like this was not the only match where he did crazy shit where he hurt himself. This was kind of his thing a little bit.
Well, like you said before, he was already kind of the hardcore wrestler, was used to like, I'll bust out the blood if I need to for the game.
I'll fall face first on a concrete if I gotta, and like he ended up retiring from full-time competition literally like 2 years later in 2000. He was, I think, 34 at the time, and at 34 he was like, I'm too beat up. Like,
Dude, yeah.
And but because like this, people remember this match so fondly. Literally, like his career in life now is he just goes and does storytelling shows and, like you said, stand-up shows where he basically just like talks about this match. Like, and it's something that he and the Undertaker have had a really complex relationship with over the past 30 years or whatever. And because it is sort of like, okay, like I had, this amazing, year as a professional wrestler, or this amazing career as a professional wrestler, but everybody remembers me as the guy who fell off the cage. But like for me, I mean, when I saw Mick Foley portrayed as this wrestler who would like never quit, that convinced me to finish high school, like,
oh damn, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's like, cause I was, I was like a dorky kid in high school who, like much like the character of, Mankind, was just like, like not the most popular and kind of a weirdo, but like charming in your own way or whatever. And it's like, I saw that as like, oh, if Mick Foley can, get thrown off of a cell twice and still keep fighting, then like I can show up and take my math test, and it is something that's like, it is just this thing that like, it is like weirdly this really empowering thing. Like you watch this match and you watch a lot of like Mick Foley's career and you're just like, you kind of feel like you could like run through a brick wall afterwards,
Yeah. I mean, also, dude, I don't want to age ourselves too much, but I have this thought now, like I'm in my late 30s and I just think about like, there was a moment in time like, oh, do I want to like get into like amateur wrestling or like do some, I've had friends who do kind of like classes.
You could. I wrestled I'm like late 30s and I wrestled my one professional wrestling match at late 30s.
My back just hurts just watching it at this point. I'm just like,
the secret is I didn't take a single bump.
There you go. You don't take a bump. But like, that's kind of, and not to take that away because I want to hear more about how that's affected your storytelling. But you remind me, Joey, of like how that inspired me and all of this stuff was, in the last decade or 15 years when I got into wrestling, was I was really kind of just fascinated how beyond, the story itself and the narrative, it is this like actual art form. It is this actual, wrestling is real and that people are taking real hits. Like you are in a ritual where you are sacrificing parts of your body. And like, this feels like an occult thing in a cool way. Like, and that's why I wrote that like comic book and I wanted to like, where there's something like magical here about this like blood sacrifice these people are making and their bodies and the tolls they're taking. And then Vince McMahon's like, ha ha ha, like kind of
Yeah.
powered by all of it, you know?
Yeah. What I think that, like, I mean, you mentioned that you do stand up, and like I feel like, and like I also, came up through the comedy scene and stuff, and I think that like this, I'm not sure if this is like healthy or not, but these, this, like, I feel like as a live comedian, it's like I've been waterboarded on stage. I've been caned like hundreds of times on stage. I've like done crazy dangerous shit, all to get laughs from
Yeah,
the
wait,
UCB
metaphorically
audience
you've
or
been
whatever.
waterboarded, right? You didn't actually do any
No,
waterboarding
legit
on
been
stage.
waterboarded. Yeah, like I've legit been waterboarded on stage, legit been caned on stage.
What
like,
was the bit that inspired waterboarding?
so the bit was like the bit was that the premise of the show was that there was it was like a very traditional late night show, like the Tonight Show or whatever.
Sure.
But on this late night show, there was a separate team of writers whose job it was to ruin the late night show.
Okay,
So
sure.
so I was on the team of writers that was trying to ruin the late night show. And so the host of the show, during his just like normal kind of, Jimmy Fallon style, late night monologue, my idea to ruin that, and he did not know that I was doing this, but my idea to ruin that was to get behind him and while he's doing his late night monologues, get for real waterboarded.
Dude, that's insane. It seems like it's a brutal thing to go through.
Oh yeah, it is. Like, look, is it torture? Yes. Like,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. It's a torture. It's torture to do it and also hear bad monologue jokes while it's happening.
But did it get a laugh?
Oh yeah, like I that made it onto the like a bunch of like legit like best comedy of 2016 lists, is me getting waterboarded on stage while
Right.
somebody did hacky monologue jokes, But it's like that's the sort of thing where like I feel like growing up and loving professional wrestling, it does kind of like, and I'm sure I'm just a specific level of maniac or whatever, but like it does kind of make you look at things of just like, okay, well, the funniest possible choice is that somebody gets waterboarded in this bit, and like I pitched it, so I guess I have to get waterboarded.
And it's brave.
It can't be fake. It has to be real waterboarding.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally respect that, Joey, because I think I can relate to that level of for the good of the show, no matter what it takes, right? Like that pressure. If anyone has come to watch you perform beyond just, well, I owe them $5 worth of a show or whatever it is, of like, I have such a need to make them happy and make them laugh that I'll kind of want to go wherever it takes, right? Like,
yeah, and I think that even extends to like, like working in the entertainment industry. Like we definitely have masochistic careers on some level, and it's like there is like a version of that that's just all the rejections and people saying no, but there is also the level of just like, I mean, you probably 5 days a week drive into the Comedy Store to do an open mic at 1 a.m. and like
I don't miss that. I don't. Miss
yeah,
that.
and then like doing that, and then like then you have to wake up at 6 a.m. to go be an assistant in your office job and make minimum wage or whatever. It's like it is kind of like everything about it is like and not that there has to be like suffering to make art, but I think that growing up, and at least in my case, my heroes, that being such a big part of their journey, I think has made it where like it just made it like sort of like, oh well, this is just what you do, like not that you have to do that to make art, but
no, I totally feel you. It's like there are so many of those open mics, where it was like, yeah, what am I doing here? There's no one here. I'm performing to literally 2 people. They're both comics. How is this making me better if I'm doing my set in front of them? But also now I'm like, if I get one single out of them, maybe that's a joke I can keep doing. But I would think about like comics say, like you need 10,000 hours, like that Malcolm Gladwell bullshit, right? Of you got to suffer to make your art better. I do think that repetition makes you stronger, but I don't know if it had to be like, this is going to be the most miserable night of your life to make you a better comic, right?
Yeah, I think it's like, I think that especially when you first get started in comedy and you're like trying to prove yourself, like now, like, would I get waterboarded now for a comedy show? Like, probably not. Like, I'm tired. Yeah. It's like, would I get caned on stage for a comedy show now? Like, I mean, 10 years ago, sure. But like now, I don't know. I'm like, my back hurts, but like, but I think it's like, I think that there is this, so much of this career is not just the career, it's the journey to the career. And there is also something cool about like, like the war stories of, like I said, you doing, open mics at 2 a.m. in front of a bunch of drunk people on a Wednesday morning or whatever, like it's in, in a black box theater. It's like, it's part of it. And I think that is something that somebody like a Mick Foley, it's like when you see that when you're a kid, you just kind of are like, oh yeah, that is like, because you look at like him getting thrown off of this cell, and like this is kind of like the bad side of professional wrestling is like there are some people that are like in the 30 year since have said like, oh, Mick Foley got thrown off of a 30-foot cage and then he became beloved after that, so like I as a 20-year-old am going to jump off of a 50-foot like building and like have my friend film it on their iPhone, then people will love me. And it's like, oh, that's the wrong message to take. And like a lot of people
and like, not to sound too old, man, I do feel like I've seen it in like social media, like TikTok stuff now of sort of a one-upsmanship, right? Of if Johnny Knoxville did blank on Jack's ass, I have to find a way to top that with an even dumber, crazier thing. And now younger people are kind of like, not even younger people, I've seen a lot of people who are prone to like, you're now like hurting other people or like taking it too far because you feel like you need to like make some sort of humility sacrifice or lack of self-awareness thing now, right?
Yeah, when I think it's like I think that it is also like picking your shots on those sacrifices. Like if Mick Foley were to jump off of a 40-foot, like it's like, and it's it sucks that the way that like careers work, and especially in freelance and creative spaces, is like it felt like, oh, okay, if this match is bad, he's kind of dead in the water, and his WWE contract might not be renewed. This is also in a stadium in front of 15,000 people or whatever. So it's like, for him, it's like he wasn't doing that every night. It's like,
No.
and earlier in his career, he took dumb risks like that. But it's like, it kind of felt like, oh, like as far as like this feels like a good day to go for it, And, for me, for the stuff that I've done that's like on the crazier end, like, me getting waterboarded at UCB or whatever, it's like, oh, that was for a pilot presentation for a show, for us shooting something that we were trying to pitch. And, we were just like, if there's ever a time to leave it all on the court, this is that time. It's like, I'm not gonna get waterboarded in front of 3 people at an open mic. Like, it's like, I'll just do regular jokes at that.
No, but
like,
your awareness of the scale of the show, and I guess like the story too, how much does it require, right? What's your series finale versus you're like, no, this is episode 11. Do we need
well, it's like there's the, if you pull an all-nighter every night, it's like, hey, that's like probably not great for your health. But if you have to pull an all-nighter like, every so often, because like that's like, it's like making self-sacrifices for your art, but also being smart about it. Like, and
dude, I've been reading a lot recently about like tech bro dudes, like Musk being really proud of making his employees work until 3 a.m. because he's doing that. And I was like, that's
that sucks. That's just you're just torturing people at that point.
Or like Dan Harmon is really like infamous, besides all of his other problems, for like making the Community and Rick and Morty writers stay
I
morning.
have some friends who wrote on those shows, and I've heard a lot of those stories.
I would love to share some myself, because my wife Jakylln and Heidi worked on one of those too. But like that level of like, if you're breaking your team and your creatives every night, they're not going to have better ideas. They're not going to make the story better. Like I've been telling my writers rooms before, I don't know if you have worked on similar ones, Joey, where it's like, we need to be done at 5, not just because we want to have personal life, but like, I need you guys to go experience stuff. Like I need you to go watch a movie or like see a show, or even just like consume some experience, so that you're coming in tomorrow with fresh ideas, as opposed to, well, I went to sleep at 4 a.m. I'm here at 9. My brain has come up with nothing new, right?
Yeah, when it feels like, if you do that, it kind of feels like you're just like getting blood from a turnip, where it's just like where it's like your brain, you could feel like, oh, there's no juice in there, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, that is something that I like, I think that a lot of people in the entertainment industry are very hard workers. And I think that like, in some points it gets to the, Dan Harmon Community side of things, where you're forcing your staff to stay until 4 a.m. But is that because you're a hard worker, or because you hate your family and are a drunk,
I think a lot of it's the latters.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, I remember it was so like, I feel like I used to have that attitude of like, gotta stay late, gotta like work hard. But then I like worked on a show, writing for WWF is that job. It's the job where it's the job where you're in the office until 11 p.m. every night, where you can't like, where if you take a nap because you've been there for 16 hours, they'll like, I don't know, bully you or something. You're not allowed to eat at the same time that the wrestlers eat. It's like, it is like a torturous writing environment. So like basically the two jobs that I had in front of me was writing for that, which would have been literally my dream job when I was 14, would have been to write that kind of thing. Or writing for this like delightful Netflix show run by a nice person, and so that's also one of the reasons I said no to the WWF job, is I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna get this other job that's nice. And it was so heartening to me. Like one of my first days on that job, I sent a work email at like 7 p.m. and like my boss the next morning like was just like, hey, we should like do a meeting. And then we had a meeting where she was just like, hey, like don't send emails after like 5 or 6, like just like hey, like like I know you want to, just like, if you have to work that hard, like let me know and I'll give you less work. Like, and not in a bad way, in an I care about you as a human way.
That's an amazing showrunner if they're doing that. That's great.
Yeah. So it's like, so I've gotten real soft is what I'm saying.
You want to be able to eat dinner at a normal time. No, I think to bring it back to what you're saying, Joey, is like, we're both getting to a point of sacrifice doesn't immediately mean a great show, but we're talking about a story where Foley did that and it created one of the best matches of all time. But I'm glad it wasn't, like you said, nonstop, right? You got to save it for the specials. You got to save it for King of the Ring, the WrestleMania. And I'm okay if like AEW on a Tuesday night is just like, I don't know, they did some flips, they did some pins, but it was really more about cutting a promo and building up to the big one, right? Like you're building.
Yeah, it's like you can't have Swerve Strickland drinking Hangman's blood every week. It's like you do that on the pay-per-view. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it is just to me, like this match is, as a storyline, it is one of the best self-contained things to show, I think, a non-wrestling fan, to have them viscerally get wrestling. Because like the second that Mick Foley climbs off that gurney, it's like if a room of jaded comedians who hate wrestling are like, wait a second, he's going back, he's going up the cage,
back.
Yeah, it's like if a bunch of jaded comedians can get on board for this, like I think that anybody, as long as you're not opposed to violence, like you will get on board this match. And then I think it is also a really interesting meditation kind of in the meta narrative of it, of like, the sacrifices that we make as artists, and is it worth it or not? And like, and is he a maniac for doing this? Yes. But did this like lead to him be able to did it lead to him be able to support himself and essentially retire at 34 so that he can just become essentially a professional storyteller, like, doing open mics and stuff like that, talking about this crazy match, it's I don't know. It's like as a kid, I looked at it with the eyes of what I saw on screen, but as an adult, I look at it as the eyes of like, a quote unquote artist or whatever. And it's like, it is kind of like, oh, is it worth it that he did that? Why did he do that? Is it crazy? It is crazy, but like also it makes sense. And it's like, it's a really kind of beautiful performance art piece.
Yeah. And then the Undertaker went on to do WWF for a long time and did a Surf's Up sequel where he's a penguin.
Yeah. Now he hosts like a super alt-right podcast where he had Trump on it,
Of course he did. This has been a fun one to read through and catch back up. I think it's also a testament to just like you said, the individuals of a match, right? You can watch this one in isolation, but I also imagine if I had gotten to watch like the year of build up, the Mankind versus Undertaker, even if people were starting a little sick of him, I think this would have hit even harder to get to see how that narrative had fallen through.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on. This was so fun to chat about this.
I think it came to a nice natural conclusion. Joey, this has been an amazing discussion on it. It's making me miss that I haven't watched AEW for a couple months. I need to get back into it. You have been so kind, by the way, in the last couple of years to invite me over to your house for WrestleManias, and I keep missing them, or AEW Dynamites and stuff. Please don't stop inviting me. I'd love to come over sometime. Joey, you have a bunch of really cool stuff. The biggest thing right now is the fantastic short POW that you wrote and directed, and didn't realize that you were also a voice on.
Oh yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, everybody can check out my short film POW. It's an animated comedy short about a young Native American kid trying to find a place to charge his video game console, a powwow. It's based on my experiences being dragged by my mom to powwows when I was a kid. You can watch it on the FNX streaming app or FNX's YouTube channel. And we were recently endorsed by Mark Ruffalo, which was really cool. Also, I played it at a Macklemore concert in October, which was neat. So, like,
it's fucking sick.
Yeah, we were. One thing I'm very happy about with it is Salon released a list of like 14 must-see animated works of 2025 a couple weeks ago. And we were on that list, and we were one level ahead of Zootopia 2. So according to Salon,
oh my god,
according to Salon, we're better than Zootopia 2.
Disney, don't hold us against this, Disney. I think you can say suck at Disney and do them.
I would never.
No, never mind. Sorry, never mind. We'd never do that. They're a great company and want to work for them as long as we can.
Love it. Yeah, for sure.
No, it's an amazing show. I'll put the link to at least the YouTube version on the episode descriptions so people can check it out. Joey, is there anything else people should check out, like social media, places you want to direct people to?
Yeah, for sure. So you can check out you can check me out on the socials. You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok at Joeytainment. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at Joey Clift with 5 or 6 eyes. That's because a 12-year-old took Joey Clift with one eye, and I just had to deal. You can check out my Comedy Central digital series at Gone Native. I'm a writer on the show Paw Patrol and Rubble and Crew on Nickelodeon, so you can check out a bunch of my episodes there. And
previous stuff, Spirit Rangers, Molly Denali, right?
Yeah, Spirit Rangers on Netflix, Molly Denali on PBS, and something that I'm really excited about is in October, I actually have my first book coming out. It's called We've Been Here the Whole Time, a not-so-sacred guide to Indian country, Native history, and our present too. It's like a satire book about Native history. It's coming out through Andrews McNeil Publishing, who publishes The Far Side, which is dope. So everybody check that out. And then
we keep bringing back to different old comics. Far Side's one of the best ones.
I think that they might also publish Garfield comic books, which is great.
You're getting closer and closer to Garfield, Joe.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
We might need to have you back at some point to cover not just Garfield comics. I don't know if you read at one point there was a Garfield sci-fi kids series where they were.
Oh yeah, that was called like Garf Patrol or something like that. Or, yeah. It's like Garf
Force
Squad
or something.
Yeah, Garf Force. Yeah, it was like Garfield in space.
Maybe we have you back to cover Garf Force. Joey, I think you've been a pleasure, dude. I love getting to talk to you about this. I got to get back into wrestling. I'm going to watch some matches, I think, tonight.
Hell yeah.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you all for listening, supporting the show. You can check out more of our episodes on our feed. If you want more of this, we have bonus episodes, dozens upon dozens. By supporting the show, you go to patreon.com/storiesthatstick. You get access to all these episodes early, ad-free, and like bonus episodes where me and Jakylln and Heidi cover YA novels every month as Goosebuds. Me and the editor Ben hang out around our campfire and talk about current media and art that's really been inspiring us. The recent episode is a lot of Marvel and anime and video game stuff, but it's all extra on patreon.com/storiesthatstick. You can email us at storiesthatstickpod@gmail.com, especially if we got anything wrestling wrong. Let us know. We apologize in advance. But thank you again, Joey. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was so fun. Don't jump off a roof. It won't make you famous. But sometimes it might. You got to be, look, you could do it once, but like make it important.
You got to pick your spot. You got to
pick your spot. Pick your spot.
All right. Until next time. Goodbye. This episode of Stories That Stick is brought to you by our wonderful supporters from the Patreon, especially those recognized in the Book of Names. Starting with Stefan Jive Turkey Kuwabara, Hollis Hornbeak, Nathan Dolezal, Hey Josh Robb, Afsheen, Buddy Morrill, Stealth a Beautifully Fleshed Skeleton Bates, Robert Moon, Jason Crooker, Zenticles, The Juggalobalist, Aiden Wants to Take a Nap. Always, Aiden. I always want to take a nap. I hunger for the sleep. Gale. Jar Jar Slinks. Chosen One. Clay Castle. John Keaty. Miguel Pardo. Calf. Yanni Markovina. Anthony Mulberry. Carl. Brooke X. Christian Van Skeever. Jeremy Lowe. Jonas Ingman. Zach Connor. Elusive Koala. Where's that koala at? Gotta find him. Luke. Jesus Christ. Brian Hobgood. Tom Whittam. Lord Cornwallis. Rushy Glenn. Juan Jalapena. Chip Handsome. Matthew Sutton. Tobias Clark. Russell Kasberg. Xavier Jimenez Castillo. Rena Kemp. Hamboat. Lip Duck. MC Hamster. Raymond Hernandez. The Crowfens, but seasonal. Jeff Coffey. Scotty Pippen. Chris Jorkin Madorkin Nelson. Good for you, Chris. I'm glad you're doing it. It's positive. We're positive about sex and jorking here. Zach Weir. Meet Virginia. Kieran McNamara. Diet soda. Woof, 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 woof. A pair of Scots. Meta for the metaphor. Estamena, Lord of Paul's Pants. Zambambino. Bah! The meatloaf! Burger's Wonderful World. Some of Chad's bird friends. Oh, we got some, they're called the Parrots of Pasadena, who hang out in LA, and they just scream and fly overhead. They're great. Love them. Nicholas Maloney. Lucretia McEvil. Need more kimchi. Mutant Astronaut. Go check out Mutant Astronaut's new animation. It's pretty cool. Logan Derby. Cameron Hansen. Eric Horwitz. Generally depressing. Philip Reynolds. Nate Bitg. Reed Stubendiek. Ryan R. Davis. Scott Wable. Joey Evans. Resident Lorcana Guy. Stinklich found the flask of Tefnut. Huh. I'm assuming, does Tefnut... Yeah, I want to know more about that guy, because his name evokes to me a certain type of life, but Stinklich, tell me about this guy. Or is Tefnut like a potion that makes your genitals strong? So it's like a potion of Tefnut. I'm thinking about this too much, Stinklich. Let me know. Mr. Unimportant. Roman Poetry. Megan McCormick Mason. Sprinkle Buns. Aaron Lord. SSJ Trogdor. Max Boltzmann. Pharaoh. Mike Spaghetti Jones. Robot Arena. Quest, #1 Agnes Tachyon fan. Quest, you still haven't told me who that is. I just want to know. I couldn't be bothered to Google it, I guess. Just let me know. Big Nick Lane. Kira and Brian are big fans. I love the big corner of the Book of Names. Always look forward to it. Never leave me. Kyle O'Neill. Tacky Tammy. Kiwi of Lerv. Chevy LaGrange. Chris Curto. Jesse Boggs. Michael Malloy. Logan Kilgus. Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite. Dakota Kemp. Time Eats Flesh. Problem Child 2 on DVD. Gotta get that physical media. It's all going away. Odin's Eyehole. Still a pretty decent dog, generally speaking. Taraku. Kit Bush. Jafar says, surely this year will be better, right? There's a couple things I'm wishing for that make the year better. We'll see how it shakes out. Dennis Wright. Jover the Moon. Dacious. B. Clint Deerking. Jolly Old Jules. Smelodies. Chris can't think of a fun name. That's okay, Chris. That's okay. Spencer Leith Johnston. Dumb bitch juice just thriving in her corpse bucket. Just sloshing around in there. Al and MC. R.L. Stein's post-apocalyptic Triple G gazongas. So, like, radiation made him grow gazongas? Or he's just found some, unattached to anything. Treehouse of Jorge. Complex. Better a Yeti with a flaw than a Bigfoot without. Wyvern. Angus Keith. Canadian Ghoul. Big Old Dumb Burb says, take time to be kind to yourself. I agree, Dumb Burb. You're not that dumb. Nathan Galindo. J. Fenn Crane. Jackie Bay. Ari. Andrew. Ben Sora 13. Ben Little. Snackwell's Cookie Monster. Cameron Murphy. Patrick Nielsen. Avery. Snack Reiner. Andrea. We got a lot of good A-name people who are just like, that's my first name. That's all you need to know. Mike C. And then Mike Simple Name. Love the Mike the Bump. People call him the Borners. I don't know why. The Border Bump Corner. The Mike Borner. Kid Chaos, the pride and torment of the podcast. Kid Chaos, you better keep things in order, Kid Chaos. Energy. Varkenvale. Fogbread. Noki Station. I used to shoot womp rats down when I was in my T16. Now down at Noki Station. Just a Ghost. Zane. And welcome to the Book of Names, Harlan Tallman. I'm looking up at you, Harlan. I'm assuming you're taller than me. Let me know your height. That's everyone. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. Hope you're enjoying this month's episodes. I'm very stoked about them as well. And we'll see you next time. You've reached the end of this episode of Stories That Stick. Hosted and produced by Chad Quandt. Hey, that's me. Associate produced by Jakylln Heidi Quandt. Edited by Ben Ravid. Theme music by Ed Scudder. You can contact us at storiesthatstickpod@gmail.com. And please support the show and get access to bonus episodes and more at patreon.com/storiesthatstick.